Hey, good evening and welcome once again to Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin. We are coming to you live from the gun store here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Fired Up is on KSHP 1400 AM radio and at the same time on YouTube under Fired Up with Bob Irwin. If you're hearing my voice or seeing my image, then you already know that. And if you're not, then it doesn't do any good to tell you that. But anyway, we repeat that every week. The YouTube version starts a few minutes after the radio version because of timing and so forth. But the YouTube versions, unlike the radio, stay up there forever. So if you miss anything, you can go back and look at the YouTube shows. We got about 4 years of those on the air, I think, at the moment that are on YouTube, and see what we said that turned out to be completely wrong 2 years later. My guest tonight is world-famous firearm instructor Maggie Mordaunt. Maggie, welcome again.
Thank you.
She's we're going to talk to her a little bit about where she's been in the last couple of weeks. She's having a whirlwind life here. A little bit of your background for new listeners to the show, if you would.
My name is Maggie Mordaunt. I'm known nationally and internationally as CCW Maggie. I'm the owner of Homeland Personal Protection. I'm a defense shooting instructor as well as a training counselor, certified through the National Rifle Association. And yeah, that's
a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
When you're at this business a while, it gets to be such a long list. It's the end of the show where you're still trying, yeah, I did this. You know,
You got to stay busy.
Well, you're my age. We have an email account for questions and comments from viewers. We don't do live calls because of the timing between the two shows. But if you send a question or comment to Bob at Fired Up Mail, I will respond. We answer all the questions. If it's a question for Maggie, you can send it to me, or her address direct is also on the crawl for the website. If you look up on the website where it says radio guests, there's a little contact information there too. And we do answer every question and every comment that comes in, either by email or sometimes we'll address them on the show. If everybody writes it and says, how come you said that? We'll correct it on the next show or explain it. This show is about guns, some related politics, especially this time of election year, and self-defense issues. We always start out with a few self-defense cases. The media generally doesn't cover legitimate use of firearms. They only cover bad things. So the good things with guns and defense outnumber the bad things about 100 to 1 or so. But we cover a few of those every week. And I generally leave the names out and sometimes the locations. The idea of reporting the incident is to let the listeners or the viewers put themselves in the position of where the guy was. And some of them are fine shootings, and we still may critique them and say, if this could have been done a little bit better by doing this. We're not trying to disparage the guy who was in the heat of the moment trying to do the best he can when the alligators are biting at him, but to look at it as if you, the viewer or listener, were there, what you could have done a little bit different to save maybe a little bit of time in your life, like going to court for the next 3 years and that sort of thing. This is from KKTV 11 in Colorado Springs on the 24th of last month, just recently. Police report an incident wherein two men were looking at guns at a local pawn shop. This one kind of rings close to me, having a retail store. The men asked the clerk to show them several guns in the display case. While they were handling them, one of the men pulled out a gun of his own and pointed it at the clerk. The other man then proceeded to put the store's guns in his backpack. Police said the man pointing the gun at the clerk tried to fire it, but the gun didn't go off. After the attempt to shoot the clerk, both men ran out of the store. That's when the clerk pulled his own gun and fired a round at the suspects. He apparently missed, as no evidence of blood trail or anything was discovered by the police. They're still investigating and trying to find these guys and presumably the guns that were in their backpack. There's a lot of things going on here. And the first comment is obviously the bad guy discovers that his gun doesn't work in the middle of using it. If this was reversed, you don't want that to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make sure your gun's working. For
If
sure.
you're carrying a gun or particular ammunition for it that you carry, try it.
Most definitely.
It's amazing the things that don't work when you put them together. Not all pistols like all ammunition, particularly when you're dealing with automatics.
Mm-hmm.
They're all reliable with something, but this is the if I had a nickel for people that have come in here to use the range and they bought the cheapest gun they could find at the gun show and the cheapest reloads at the next table down,
Right.
and wonder why it doesn't work. And this is what they're depending on their life. But at least they came in to try it. There's lots of those people that have guns are sitting out there that their gun really doesn't work and they don't know. So on the clerk side, he carries a gun at work. Our employees here carry guns, mostly for mystique, really, not because we're trying to shoot customers. But the fact that you carry a gun on your hip every day doesn't mean that you can draw quickly or shoot accurately. It only means that you're carrying the gun. You have to actually practice. I'm not going to deride this guy because under stress he missed. That happens to the best of us.
Right. Well, you did say the guys were actually fleeing away from him. At that point, I'm just going to say, at least they were leaving. Him missing may have actually been a good thing because,
it turns out
shooting somebody in the back.
two things wrong happened here that turned out to be good things.
Right.
He didn't shoot a fleeing bad guy in the back.
Exactly.
And the bad guy's gun didn't work.
Exactly.
I mean, both errors that worked out in the favor of the guy in the pawn shop.
But I do know what you mean, Bob, when you're talking about, your gun's not working. If you were the good guy and the gun wasn't working, I know what you mean by making sure your gun works before you take it out for self-defense or even to the range to go shoot it. Making sure that the gun is clean, that it's got working parts, and that nothing is broken.
Exactly. If you've got such a gun in your house that you haven't fired in years, go out to Desert Sportsman's or wherever, or come to a range and try your gun. It's something that you're going to wish you had done if you haven't done it. If you haven't practiced with it, you need to do that anyway. The gun store here, we offer free concealed carry permit classes 3 times a week, every Monday, every Wednesday, every Saturday. You can sign up for our classes on our website, thegunstorelasvegas.com, and get into class and get some training. This is WISH TV8, WISH TV8, in Hendricks County, Indiana. A shooting ended this is a complex case. It ended a long domestic dispute between a woman and her ex-husband. The suspect in this case and the victim, the woman, had been divorced for almost 10 years. She has since remarried, and she has a restraining order, actually had a series of them, against her ex-husband. He had a whole history of violence, and he's a little goofy, in all honesty. This incident happened on a Tuesday night. This is on the 28th or 27th on State Road 267. That sounds picturesque. It stemmed from a cell phone bill. She said her ex was upset over their daughter's phone bill. The daughter lives with the mother, and he has visitation rights. The couple, the married couple now, had just gotten home. They were actually out celebrating the anniversary of their marriage. And they're sitting on the patio when their dog began barking. The new husband sees the ex's car pull up in spite of a no trespassing sign. Like that would help, but there's no trespassing sign.
Signs work.
The ex gets out of the car wielding a set of nunchucks, the karate weapon with the sticks and the chain between.
Yes.
And apparently in a rage, he charged at the couple. The current husband warned the attacker off while pointing a pistol at him. As the ex closed the distance, he was swinging the nunchucks. The husband fired a number of shots. He actually hit the ex 6 times. As of this writing, he was in critical condition at ICU at a local hospital. Since they have 2 children together, the wife calls the shooting bittersweet. I think it's finally over. Unfortunately, it came to this, that he's in a situation because he put himself there. The local police chief said the husband will not face criminal charges at this time. He was clearly acting in self-defense and defense of his wife. This is a fairly typical shooting, and the reason I'm bringing this one up is the speed. It took longer to read this incident by 7 times than it took to actually happen.
Right.
Visualizing this scene, they're sitting on their patio in their lawn chairs, and the new husband carries his gun, has it with him, because there's been this bad blood. The guy pulls in onto their property, jumps out of his car, and runs at where the couple is. From the pictures, it's about 18 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So he closed that distance in probably less than 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Had this new husband not had his gun with him, he had no chance. And he would have gotten beat with the nunchucks, and very, very likely his wife. These things happen incredibly quick. If you leave your gun over here, over there, I'm going to run the house and get it. That, in this case, that clearly wouldn't have happened. When you need the gun, you will find in most cases, you need the gun right now, not 30 seconds from now.
Right, right. I mean, the nunchucks are actually a deadly weapon. They're used for all different types of martial arts fighting, typically. But if used properly, you could subdue your attacker. Nunchucks are a skill that a lot of people don't practice anymore, so I'm really surprised this guy has nunchucks. It's like a rarity. You don't hear people using nunchucks anymore these days. But yeah, definitely the current husband is definitely well within his right to defend himself against this would-be attacker. Hope the guy survives his bullet wounds. Again, 6 shots, that we never can say, how many shots it takes to stop an attacker. Well, it takes just about that many.
Well,
1 to who knows how many.
Yeah, and if you visualize when people are hit with a bullet, he's running full speed. He's a full-size adult male. He's running full speed at the guy. A bullet out of, we count them in grains, hitting him is not going to knock him over like television. Right. He's going to absorb those hits. He's so enraged, he's going to keep moving forward. And until you knock him out, basically, by, something in the brain or spine, or he just succumbs because you hit a kneecap or a hip that forces him to fall. This is real life. They don't just fall over. Right. And the guy running at you full speed, there's absolute, I understand why 6 rounds were fired, because when you're firing, you're looking at this guy and nothing's happening. Right, you think you're missing. You don't know.
Yeah. Well, you can't really you can't really spot shot. There's a difference between a psychological stop and a physiological stop. If someone, maybe this guy who was in such a rage, he's not even paying attention to the fact that he's getting shot. He's just probably figuring out how he's going to use these nunchucks. And by the time he realizes he's been shot, who knows if it was more physiological or psychological. So we don't know. And you don't. Said, that heat of the moment.
Most of the people that I've interviewed over my time in this, when I've asked them where you were shot, yes, I was shot. And I say, did it hurt? They say, actually, no, it hurt like hell an hour later or the next day.
Yeah.
But it's a little hole. It's there, but no, doesn't make immediate physical pain. So that's not going to be the issue when you shoot somebody, particularly with a handgun, that he's just going to fall down and stop. Have your gun. This is WITN TV News, Wilson, North Carolina. Home invasion happened on Winnetka Road at 1:15 a.m. on a Monday morning. When officers arrived, they found a man suffering from gunshot wounds outside the home. The homeowner told police he heard someone trying to kick the door to his house. From the other side, inside the door, he warned the intruder to stop and then fired shots through the door. The would-be burglar was hit. He was taken to Wilson Medical Center where he was pronounced dead. Officers have identified the dead man as a local 26-year-old. After consulting with the DA's office, the police said no charges will be filed against the homeowner, whose name is not being released, of course, because he didn't do anything wrong. There's a lot here. Glad the guy was able to defend his house and defend himself and his family that was in the house. Most likely this is a valid shooting because nobody was hit but the bad guy. That being said, shooting through something you can't see through, I know somebody's beating on your door, but likely it's a bad guy. It might turn out to be a lost Cub Scout, you know, that's unlikely, but I want listeners to understand you want to try and use verbal warnings. Here, there's opportunity to do that. Yell through the door, what are you doing? What do you want? It'll give you some information. If there's no response, even that is information. It's not somebody, you know, my car's on fire, or this is the fire department knocking on your door because your roof's on fire. Wow, that would have been a big mistake.
Yeah, that really would have.
I've seen that case, actually, where it was a fireman and got shot. If you don't know who's outside, there's no response. My suggestion is that you take cover behind something across the room from the door, call 911. If the guy breaks through the door, you're yelling at him, get away from my house, I've got a gun, whatever. What you're creating there, one, is dwell time so the police could arrive. Now, we all know we're dealing with 30, 40, 50 seconds here. The cops aren't going to get there.
Right.
No chance when you call 911 with somebody kicking your door that the cops are going to arrive in time. Nowhere, no how, anywhere in the United States or anyplace else. So, but what you're doing with the 911 call is you're creating a record. They're recording all those calls. So you call 911, say, there's a guy kicking my door in, and they will hear the banging on the door on the tape. They will hear you yelling, don't come in, I've got a gun. They will hear the door break. They will hear the shots, and all of that will be recorded. You're creating a witness to the fact that you didn't do anything wrong, even though there's nobody there but you and the bad guy. There is. There's dispatch and the recording, and in some major departments, the responding officers are hearing that also over their radios.
Right. That 911 call, you know, they will actually start recording before they even pick up, as a matter of fact. You know, if this person is trying to beat down your door in a violent, surreptitious manner with stealth, and, you know, even maybe they could have picked up this other person
with violent stealth. Did you say that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You know, if they are achieving the ability to knock down your door, I mean, if they're using a tool or they have the strength to do something like that, and you're in fear for your life, like you said, get to a better place in your home. You know your home better than anybody else does. You know, I always say evade, barricade, respond if necessary with force.
Hide behind something that you think will stop a bullet in case he's got one. We don't know that. We don't know, you know, that this guy was armed or not armed. And as it turned out, he was a bad guy, had lots of prior history and so forth. So it worked out.
Yes.
Kind of by the grace of God. In North Carolina, they're pretty pro-gun. I can't see this guy getting in trouble, but consider if he'd hit somebody else. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he knew from what's beyond his front door, even somebody standing across the street wouldn't have been hit. There's maybe a wall or trees or something that will prevent his rounds from going somewhere they shouldn't go. We know they were up chest high because the guy died. He didn't die from leg wounds before the police got there. So when this happens, somebody's beating her, don't be panicked, don't panic. Be smart, look at the situation. Get away from the door, because when the door gets kicked in, it's going to land on you. You don't want that. So you get away from the door, get 911 on the phone, and think this through. Warn him, etc. Because you have an audience listening who are all going to be witnesses on your side.
Yeah, it's having that home defense plan also. If you have other people in the home with you, If this gentleman is trying to protect his family inside the home, he should have had his wife maybe call 911. Because we all talk about that lapse in time. We feel like things are going so fast or so slow that we often, hear the stories of, well, I didn't think I had enough time to call 911. I was busy trying to protect myself. But if there's multiple individuals in the home, that's where you have that conversation with your family. And you say, hey, if somebody tries to break into our house, at least we have some sort of plan, just like a fire drill, if you will.
Yeah, so everybody knows what everybody's doing. Everybody knows where they're going to meet. It's like the commercials you see on TV. Okay, we all know what we're going to do in a fire, right? Yeah. And everybody says something different. So, okay, we got a plan. That's a joke commercial, but imagine that with a guy coming through your front door. Anyway, questions or comments to Bob at Fired Up Mail. Please friend us if you get a moment on Facebook. We got a Facebook site. You can friend us there. We'd appreciate that. If you're planning a corporate event, we do machine gun shooting here and shotguns and all that kind of stuff in our indoor range. We're lead-free. You can contact Melissa at thegunstorelasvegas.com or just call and we'll hook you to the right place and set up your corporate group from when you'd like to come in and have something unusual to do on your corporate event. We get 1 or 2 a week now, and they're kind of fun.
They are very fun. A lot of people don't utilize coming to a gun shop where they have, firearms that you'll probably never buy. Because they have all the unique firearms here that you can shoot, and you have great RSOs on the range who are going to, make sure you're doing it all correctly. So you'll have a really good time coming to the gun store and shooting some of those full autos, right? You get some full autos too?
1 or 2.
1 or 2,
Or 50.
Or 50.
Thanks for the plug.
Oh, well, my pleasure.
This is from the Taos News in Taos, New Mexico, of all places. At 4th, this is the 29th, a couple days ago. At 4:30 a.m., an intruder broke into a house in a Weimar neighborhood. That's a suburb of Taos, I guess, part of Taos. When residents were approached by a 31-year-old, when the guy broke in, and the residents inside found this 31-year-old with a crowbar in his hand. There were 3 residents in the house. One of the 3 fired at him with a .38 as he was coming across the space between them inside the house. He turned and ran, as people generally do, again, because they don't fall down dead right away. In this case, the guy turned and ran.
Full of adrenaline.
Smarter. So the police followed the blood trail to a nearby field where the suspect was. Despite the fact that he had a couple .38 caliber holes in him, he fought with the officers. They subdued him with a taser and took him into custody. He's now in Holy Cross Hospital outside of Taos, where he's listed in stable condition. The interim police chief, Lieutenant Dave Maggio, said the suspect is known to the police from previous incidents. Again, this is at 4:30 in the morning. A guy with a crowbar that has broken into your house is clearly a threat of serious bodily harm or death. I'd be more in lieu of the worry about the crowbar than the nunchucks from the other guy.
Right.
This is a type of attack where, again, the gun needs to be ready now. There's no time to go get the gun. The guy's in the living room with a crowbar coming across the space. When I ran this story, I ran a quick search of the suspect's name. He had a rather unusual name. I don't normally use names on the show, but he showed prior arrests for outstanding warrants, aggravated assault, battery, and false imprisonment. That was over locking up his girlfriend. This is a habitual guy. Statistics tell us generally that, as we know, 5% of the bad guys commit about 90% of the crime. When we lock up that 5%, crime drops dramatically. We just don't lock them up much anymore. Sooner or later, this guy was probably going to get killed. Will probably get killed by the police or another armed victim. He's fortunate he didn't get killed by this guy. Again, 4:30 in the morning. If you haven't got a gun and this guy's in your living room with a crowbar, you're toast.
Yeah, career criminal.
Got to have a gun in your house that works and you know how to use it. And there we are. We offer a concealed carry permits, as I said, every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 3 times a week. You can find a class on our website. Maggie, you were at the NRA annual dinner, meeting, whatever, where everybody made speeches and Donald Trump made speeches.
Yes, he
and
did.
da-da-da.
Yes.
Give me a couple minutes. What happened?
It was a very interesting event. I was invited out to the Women's Leadership Council luncheon with the NRA. Susan LaPierre was there. There were a lot of interesting people that were at the event that had so much information to share. Got to meet a lot of competition shooters. And so I went out there with the well-armed women. We actually had 3 tables and went to the event that they had where it was kind of like SHOT Show. I don't know if you've been to SHOT Show before, and it was kind of like that. I got to help out with several different events, help people, sign up with the NRA, getting, more members involved, and, a lot of hot topics about, really what's going on, Bloomberg and his crazy initiative, and, Obama. I like to affectionately call him Obama. But all the some libertards showed up outside and tried to interview and kind of stoke the fires with we Second Amenders, us crazy people who believe in our Second Amendment.
Yes, I know several of them.
So there were several media people out there trying to, start the fire and getting people to say the wrong thing.
To provoke you and get sound bites. Yeah.
Yeah, and try to do that. So I did actually talk to this one young lady. She was talking to one of my fellow firearms instructor friends that was out there, and I could see he was getting a little upset, and I thought, it's time for me to step in and save him from his own mouth. And so I stepped in and I said, it seems to me that you're here for all the wrong reasons, and you're really just trying to, upset this man. I said, if you have questions, then you need to be a little bit more fair in your questions, because you're being very unfair. I said, what are some of the questions? Let me help out here and answer some questions that you have, and because you seem very lost. And so she asked me some questions. I said, she said that we, the community as a whole, should actually police people if we feel someone is showing signs of depression, which is a clinical term. She said that we should actually file paperwork in the courts saying that we witnessed that person acting erratically or weird or upset, and we know that they own guns and that they should have their guns put on suspension.
They're actually working on a law in California right now to do that very thing.
And that's what I was like, wow, that's so crazy. I said, now you're telling us, law-abiding citizens, now we're supposed to make clinical diagnosis of people, press charges against someone who hasn't done anything illegal. Everybody goes through emotional roller coasters, ups and downs in their lives, and it's up to the authorities to police them.
And a tiny percentage do something stupid, but usually it's not lethal anyway.
Right.
There's a wedge here issue that they're looking for. We're going to talk about that also later. This is California's got a law doing exactly that passed their assembly today or yesterday.
But my overall best experience, I think, at the NRA convention was getting to have a dinner with all of a whole large group of defense shooting instructors, combat focus shooting, through the Personal Defense Network, with Rob Pincus and all of the other instructors. We got to have this very large dinner, and we talked about all these topics of what's going on. And as firearms instructors, we have all of this knowledge, and it's up to us to be responsible with this knowledge and making sure people understand that when they purchase a firearm, how to use their firearms properly for self-defense, if that's what they're using it for, or helping point them in the right direction of what they're going to use that gun for.
Learning is
Education.
The whole trick.
Yes.
While we're on that, the NRA and the Nevada Firearms Coalition are working now diligently to defeat Proposition 1, which is going to be on the ballot in Nevada. We don't know exact wording yet, but it'll be on the fall ballot. It will require universal background checks, basically anybody who transfers a gun to anybody else, with some bizarre exceptions so far in the wording. We'll have to get a background check. This is getting into all the politics of it we'll do as we get close to the election, but the NRA is fighting this, so is the Nevada Farms Coalition. They're going to be bumper stickers and rallies and all sorts of stuff out later in the year. Please don't help the government get a list of all the gun owners. God forbid Hillary has already promised to get rid of several types of common defensive sporting and hunting guns, as well as all standard capacity magazines, anything above a standard capacity magazine. Don't give her the list to work from. The last thing the government needs, being the state government or the federal government, is a list of everybody who owns a gun. We would rather they just got the bad guys misusing guns than keeping track of the owners. We'll talk about that more as we get in toward the election. This was kind of an interesting shooting. This is KMOX News Radio, 1120. On the 21st in St. Louis, local police have released some details about a shooting near Busch Stadium overnight. This is at the corner of 9th and Spruce in downtown St. Louis. It was an attempted carjacking or a robbery, perhaps. Happened about 10:30 in the evening. There's a lot of data on this and a lot of news reports that conflict with the other ones, so I just did a very brief thing here. Apparently, a would-be carjacker or robber walked up to the victim's truck from the passenger side, pointed a gun at the window, and told the guy to get out of the truck. The driver bailed out of the truck. As he did so, he grabbed his pistol that was in the truck. He fires back through the cab, hitting the guy that's standing outside the window. There was an exchange of gunfire in there. His truck was idling, so as he bailed out, the truck rolled and moved and ended up up on the sidewalk a few feet away. Nobody was hit by the truck. It was just in gear running it. He took the foot off the brake. The unusual thing here, as the truck rolled away, while the guy is exchanging fire with the robber and or truck jacker, two other people open up on him from another car that's sitting there that apparently belonged to accomplices of the guy trying to either rob him or take his truck. So they're shooting at him. He shoots back at them. He was the original driver was hit in the leg. He's okay. After the shooting at the intended victim, the accomplices fled. They picked up the wounded guy and drove him to the hospital. The police got there. When you come into an emergency room with a bullet hole, they always call the police, no matter how good your story is.
Right.
They're going to call the police.
Even if you accidentally shoot yourself.
Which is what they all say. I accidentally shot myself in the back twice, and here I am. They always call the police. They're required to about everywhere. The police get there. They grab the guy who's the wounded perp. They arrest another guy there. A third one who was also there ran. They believe that was a female. She's still at large. And homicide investigators are investigating this now. But the point of this is, again, speed. This guy is stopped, and a guy walks up to his passenger window, fires, points a gun through the glass. He bails out, fires. They exchange gunfire. There's pictures of the truck all over the web. All the windows are shot out. Then two other people, unrelated, open up on him. Remember the rule, there are always more bad guys than you can see. There were more bad guys.
Multiple target engagement.
So when you get the one guy down, don't stop, put your gun away, and start taking pictures of yourself for your wall. There's more stuff out there. Just a lot of stuff. This is a really long case, and depending on whose version you read, I found 5 or 6 versions of it, all slightly different. But that's generally what happened. The guy did right. The guy pointing a gun at him. His first move was to get out of the way, so he didn't get shot. So he bails out of the truck, grabbing his gun, and fires. Great reaction. Probably saved his own life. He still caught one in the leg, apparently from the other car. They're sorting it all out. There's lots of shell casings and holes in vehicles all over the place in the scene. It's an amazing crime scene.
Well, it was very smart of the guy to get out of the way. I mean, we call that stepping off the X. Don't just stand there and be a frag magnet.
Don't stand in the bullseye.
Right? Yeah, most definitely. He at least seems to me like he had some sort of plan and had the wherewithal to get out of the way and, reposition himself and get on target.
Yeah. I was going to mention there's a columnist now on MLN.com named Bob Irwin, who writes some great stuff. The column's on usually every day, diagnosing some shooting scene like we're talking about here. And you can write in and critique what you think I said was wrong, and lots of people do. It's fun to read. This story I brought in just for you. This is Arkansas Online from yesterday. The first in Little Rock. Police were called to an attempted robbery, 3600 block of Asher Avenue, Sunday morning after a woman shot a man trying to rob her. The intended victim, 34-year-old lady, told police she was sitting in her car playing with a dog when a man approached the front of her vehicle. He pointed a black semi-automatic handgun at her and said, "Give me all you got." He's pointing it through the windshield at her. It happens she works as an armed guard and had her gun sitting on the seat. So she picks it up and fires through the windshield at him. He ran from the scene. Perfect. I mean, the guy's got her dead to rights. Where is she going to duck? He's looking at her through the windshield with a gun. It's,
Right.
Again, you need your gun now. She fires. We don't know for sure if she hit him, and firing either way through a windshield, and I've done a lot of police academies, and it's one thing we always work on is shooting through auto glass. If someone's firing inside the squad car or firing out from the squad car, and we teach police to fire through their windshield.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at a piece of really tough glass, and it's at a horrible angle. Bullets generally don't go through straight. You really don't know where the bullet is going on the other side of that glass until you fired. If you need to fire through your windshield, count on the first 2 rounds not going where you want. The third one, once it's pretty well shattered, will generally go straight for our purposes at 4, 5, 6 feet. It'll generally go straight either way. So put a couple rounds through it. If they hit the guy, fine. The third one probably will hit him. Anyway, he ran from the scene. The intended victim followed. She told police he ran north on Maple Street and back west on West 24th Street before she lost sight of him. He's described as a young male with curly hair and a light build. He's still being sought by the police. She's a security officer. She's had some training, and she did it right to a point. Mm-hmm. Where I disagree with her actions was chasing after the guy. Yeah. She wants to catch the suspect because she's being a police officer. But what she should have done is just call 911 and given a description, because now we got this woman with a gun running down the road. When police people called about the shots firing. They see her, it's going to be drop the gun, and they got the wrong guy because it's her, not the real bad guy.
Right.
There's a number of things that happen when you chase an armed suspect. 10 different things, and 7 of them are bad.
Most definitely. I mean, it could have turned into a gun battle where now stray shots are being fired. You're in a neighborhood. There could be other innocents who could have been shot. Again, like you said, she's a security guard. She's not a police officer. She's not the authority. She's safe now, so she should stay in her safe place or go inside or, seek cover somewhere else and, not play the role of the police officer. She knew what he looked like. She didn't catch him. They didn't catch him.
Both of us admire the courage this woman had to do that.
Most definitely.
That it was just not thought through regularly. When I was teaching police academies, one of the first things we would do with cops occasionally was to give them a scenario when they're first in training and say, you're walking down the street, you're off duty, but you got your gun and your badge. And you look through a store window and you see a robbery in progress. What's the first thing you do? And the recruits would say, hide behind a car and show my badge, or, try and take a picture. This was before cell phones and so on and so on. No, the first thing you do is call the police. So the cops know this is going on, and they also know there's an officer there in plain clothes, so they don't shoot you. Call the police. They got body armor, and free lawyers. Let them do their job. Maggie does a ladies only shooting and personal safety class here twice a month. This lady should be in it. Second and fourth Friday. Next class is Thursday the 9th. You can sign up on her website or at thegunstorelasvegas.com on our website. And great class.
We do talk about in that class, by the way, the difference between, like in this incident, the difference between an emotional response and a planned response. If your emotional responses are where you're improvising, you're making things up as you go, and they won't really go so well that way, because that's when you're just basically second guessing and hoping things will go the way you think they're going to go. Having some sort of plan to defend yourself and secure yourself and call the authorities so that they can handle the situation is just really key. And having that plan based on whatever situation you are in, at least having some sort of plan.
It's hard to think under stress.
It is.
Try to make the plan ahead of time.
Most definitely. And practice the plan.
We're going out to the movies. My wife and I are walking down the street here or there. That happens all the time. What do we do if there's a bad guy with a gun?
Right.
And it's funny, a friend of mine, retired Metro officer, he's talked to his wife about that, this, that, and the other thing. And they're walking together, and something happened on the sidewalk in front, which looked threatening. And what she did immediately was grab his arm. Well, that's where his gun is.
Right, right.
So you got to talk that through. What are we going to do?
Yeah,
First
as a
thing,
team.
darling, don't grab my arm.
Exactly. You're tall, and your wife's petite. Just get behind you.
Okay. I had to get this story, and we've got, as usual, we don't have enough time to cover all this stuff, but we'll get there. A lot of these I'm going to send into this website so you can pick them off there. This is the New Britain Herald on the 31st. Newington, Connecticut. A local man is free on bond after his arrest on Friday on charges he pulled out a chainsaw and shouted racial slurs during a road rage incident in Farmington on May 6th. The local suspect, he's 30, allegedly, there's a road rage thing between two cars. He gets out, they're stopped. He gets out of his car with a chainsaw while they're stopped at a red light and approaches the other driver, according to the Farmington police. As he's advancing on the driver, who is a black male, this is a white guy, he started the chainsaw and began yelling racial slurs. I only bring up race because that's involved here. So he turns on the chainsaw and he's calling the guy out kind of bad things. The driver is a legal CCW holder, John Q, straight citizen. He gets his firearm and points it and warns the guy not to get any closer. Seeing the gun, the suspect left the scene, but not before he accidentally cut himself with the chainsaw, which splattered blood all over the victim's car. So you now get the proximity of how close they are.
Wow.
Anyway, he ran away, and he later turned himself into police to face charges. They charged him with second-degree breach of peace, second-degree threatening, intimidation based on bigotry or bias. He's released, posting $2,500 bond, and scheduled to appear in the Hartford Superior Court on June 7. The intended victim is not being charged. What struck me here was the guy is charged with second-degree threatening. A running chainsaw has to be first-degree threatening. I mean, I can't picture anything scarier than that. I'd rather have a guy coming at me with a gun than a chainsaw. We can make the joke about never bring a chainsaw to a gunfight, but Alan Buttel's not here for this show, so he doesn't get to say that. Driving away doesn't appear to be an option because this had apparently been going on for them. They're playing cat and mouse with each other for a few blocks. There is tremendous restraint on the part of the victim here, the gun carrier. Honestly, seeing somebody screaming, running at me with a chainsaw and blood spattering, I would probably fire about 200 rounds at this guy, or at least until I completely ran out of ammo in my trunk and everything else. I can't imagine anything scarier than that. And this guy just points his gun and yells at him.
This sounds like a
Wow.
Halloween story, like
Yeah,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre story or something.
this is the calmest dude I have
Serious.
ever heard of.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty calm under those conditions. I mean, like you
He's
said, it's,
that close. He
you
didn't
know.
shoot this clown.
yeah.
Not me. Fine job, young man.
Yeah.
Anyway, we again, we do concealed carry permit classes 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Sign up on our website. I'm going to go to a couple of things for the end here and then come back if we have time for another story. There is just so much stuff happening. If you would like to purchase some commercials on this show, we can buy more airtime and do a longer show.
Yes.
Firearms Policy Coalition reports in California that several anti-gun bills passed the Assembly actually today. And they all passed. They already generally passed the Senate. There's going to be a little reconciliation, then they go to the governor. AB 1673 bans possession of all unserialized firearms, parts, and so forth. The bill is to get rid of what we call 80% receivers. That's an industry term, ATF. Either it's a receiver or it's not. They don't. There is no 80% legally. That's just something we advertise. An almost finished receiver. But this says no firearm that'll take parts unless it has a serial number. So this would include a lot of guns made before 1954, lots of 22s, lots of shotguns, don't have serial numbers, never did. So they're going to have to be serial numbered under this bill, some collector's items probably. AB 1674 bans buying more than one firearm every 30 days in the whole state of California. Comment here from Assembly lady named Gonzalez. She's a Democrat from San Diego. In arguing for this one gun a month, she says she only gets to exercise her right to vote once, so Californians should only be allowed to buy one gun. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Wow, you know, that's like comparing apples to oranges. They're both round.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So if she's already voted, then she can't vote again anyway. It's not like Texas, you know, vote early, vote often. It's California.
Wow.
And as we started to talk before, AB 2607 is the gun violence restraining order bill. It allows any family member, your employer, or a medical provider to ask authorities to temporarily confiscate your guns by telling the police or a judge that they are, in your opinion, potentially dangerous. The way the bill is worded now, they're going to hold your guns. You have 21 days to go to the court, present evidence that you're not crazy, and then theoretically you get your guns back. Otherwise, this order extends for a year. There's lots of proposed wording changes. There's 3 pages of this. California AB 2607 for 2016. There's a lot of 2607s. Make sure you get the 2016 bill. Read that. You need to get involved in California and get rid of this thing. Firearmspolicy.org is the group running the push against it. Firearmspolicy.org. Great organization. Please look at their website and support them. They are trying to save your bacon.
Yeah.
One more. The Buckeye Farms Association in Ohio announced a victory for us. BATF has certified Ohio concealed handgun license holder, handguns licenses, as valid for NICS compliant background checks. So as of right now in Ohio, if you've got a Ohio CCW permit, you don't have to do the background check like we do now in Nevada.
Right.
Before they had to do them, now they don't. So this is good. About time would be the comment on that. We've got a Crossroads of the West gun show, June 11 and 12 at Cashman Field. That's a week and a half.
Yes.
We have a whole bunch of passes for the gun show. I think it's $12 or $15 to get in. I don't know.
It's $15 to get in, and
15?
yeah, it's $15 to get in, and it's I think a $4 parking pass.
Yeah, I can't do anything about the parking.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of these the show gave us. to give away. I appreciate them doing that. If you send a note to bob@firedupmail.com, boink, with your contact information, we will get a pass for you so you can go to the show for free. The idea is to promote the show and get extra people there, so please don't ask me for 6 passes and so forth. But you get a free one. So send me a note. We'll get you a free pass to the show and save you $15.
Yes. Come to the show.
June
It's a good
11 and
show.
12. Next one after that is in July at the Las Vegas Gun Show at the Sports Center. Not coming up yet. We'll be back next Thursday. My outline's so long. I don't even know what day I'm on. 5 to 6 p.m. here on 1400 AM KSHP and on YouTube. And I'm going to thank you for listening. Now it says I've got 4 minutes. So the story that I missed.
Yeah, come check us out at the Crossroads of the West Gun Show. It's going to be an amazing show.
You got a table there for all your stuff?
I do. I have 2 tables. I have one for the well-armed women, and I also have one for my company, Homeland Personal Protection. It's going to be great.
Wow, you're a conglomerate.
I have many people involved.
Maggie's got an awful lot of stuff going, and she is about to be world famous. We're working on that. So that's really, the ladies out there, come take her ladies defense class. You will be absolutely startled at what you don't know that this young lady can teach you that will save your life. No joke.
We definitely focus on your strengths, and oftentimes people can get in the way of what they think they can and can't do. So we really try to dial it into showing you how to properly use a handgun, showing you exactly what type of handgun is best for you, choosing a defensive handgun, the right type of gear, how to carry it, just based on, your body style. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people ask, well, how should I carry it? Should I carry it in a purse? Should I carry it on my body? I don't know.
I know.
It's on your body. You definitely want to have it on you. Like you said earlier, I mean, getting your firearm and being able to access it at a moment's notice is really important.
And we run into that here, even in our little stuff. Now, we do order and sometimes carry purses with built-in holsters, but I really discourage them because half the time that's the target of the attack. And now they got your gun too. Your gun wants to be on you.
Yes.
And as she's saying, there are ways you can carry it.
Yes.
And practice drawing it from that position and styles you can wear.
Exactly.
Get a line of stylized clothing for women who carry guns.
Yeah, just creating your new normal. If you're wearing a certain type of clothing, I mean, there's other things that you can put on to help disguise your firearm. We have a whole topic on, patterns of clothing, types of clothing, and again, just creating your new normal and finding different ways that you can make your firearm fit your style.
Think Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Now, she could have a bazooka under everything she wears, and you wouldn't know it, right?
That's because she's frumpy.
You don't want to look like Hillary Clinton. But there are fashions that will work for you.
Yeah.
Doing that, we're almost up on the end, so I'm going to skip this Fresno story. Pretty cute until next week. But we're looking at the engineer. He's looking at us. Do send me a note at bob@firedupmail.com with your contact information. Your first name and a phone number is all I need, and we will call you and arrange to get you a pass to the big show, and you can see Maggie's 2 tables.
Yeah, and all the ladies will be there as well. There's going to be lots of ladies, so ladies, come on out. If you have any questions that you need to ask, we're there to answer questions, point you in the right direction, and get you all prepared for whatever it is you may be going into, whether it's using firearms for sport or using firearms for self-defense. We also talk about safety and, safety is a skill.
Yes.
Things
and
like that.
Not shooting yourself accidentally. And
Exactly.
So that's always bad when you shoot yourself accidentally because you will never live it down.
No.
The rest of your life, you will be the fool who shot themselves in the hip or the toe or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll be missing a finger. That's fairly common too.
No. The gun culture needs more women and men as well.
We are right up on 6 o'clock. So I thank everybody for listening to Fired Up. We'll be back next week, same time. I think I do have a guest next week, and I don't have it on my notes. It'll be somebody really cool. I hope.
There you go.
I didn't put it on the.
No, it's not
Oh,
on there. But no worries. Friend Bob on Facebook.
Yes.
Fired Up with Bob Irwin, and then also the questions. Don't forget that. You can friend me on Facebook as well, CCW Maggie.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching.